Today I'm going to be reviewing Sinful and Satin by Madeline Hunter, and there will be spoilers. So if you watched my used book haul, this was one of the ones I picked up, mostly because I saw the cover and I thought it looked pretty, and also this shows that it's probably a more modern author. I think this was written like, I don't know, 2010 or something. Yeah, 2010. So she's current. I actually looked her up to make sure, she's still publishing stuff, so that's one of the reasons I picked it up. Also, I paid $1 for it, and so I figured, hey, if I don't like it, it doesn't matter. And if I do, I found a new author. So, I found a new author because this is really, really good. I was actually extremely surprised by how good it was. It's not quite at the level of Mary Baylog and Tessa Dare, but it's super close. So let me go into details. So this is actually the third book of a quartet, which I didn't realize, but it's fine because, she will sort of explain things so that you don't have to have read the other ones, but you're very interested to, because she does not give away the secrets that you discover in the other ones. So you still have a good reason to read the other ones other than the fact that she's a good author, which I really, really liked. So you definitely don't need to read her other books in order to understand this, but I really want to because I want to know the characters. So yeah. So the plot line is that the main character, Celia, her mother was a super famous courtesan in London, and she didn't run a brothel. She ran she basically just, she had grand lavish parties and had somebody be her protector, and she got gifts from the men, and, she was a very high-class courtesan. She wasn't just, a whore. Well, Celia I think she didn't know who her mom was, or she did, but she went to go live in the country for a while. That part was not really well explained, and I'm sure it might be, like, in the previous books. But she was brought to London for a year, basically to be groomed to be a courtesan, and there were people bidding on her, and she left before that wound up happening. And she comes back to London because her mother dies, and her mother has some properties and debts and things, and so she has to take care of the estate. And she also wants to sort of become an independent woman. She wants to, she really likes the woman she's been living with, but she sort of wants to not have to rely on her as much. So she sets herself up in one of her mother's houses, and she finds out that this guy, Jonathan Albrighton, has been living there because she comes home and she's getting ready for bed and she hears this person, and she opens the door about to, smack him with something. He's like, what are you doing here? She's like, well, what are you doing here? He's like, I live here. And so she's super confused, and it turned out her mother had been renting one of the attic apartments to him. She doesn't know this at the time, but he's working for the Home Office, basically sort of as a spy. And he's been kind of given a mission of sorts to try to figure out, has anybody of note might possibly be compromised by this courtesan, because they may have visited her. And so that whole thing, it's a little confusing, but it's not too hard to follow eventually. But anyway, so he's there, and they run across each other a lot. And she sort of knew who he was because he was around back when she first came to London to, prepare to be a courtesan. And so they kind of know each other. And it's, it's really interesting. Celia has to deal with all of the stigma of being the daughter of a courtesan. And, she's trying to figure out who her father is because her mother refused to tell her because she's like, no good's going to come of that. Don't worry about it. But she still wants to find out who her dad is, and her dad is a dick, and, that sort of thing. But the chemistry between both of the characters is really, really good. Like, oh my god. I just had to keep reading. It was so, so good. And what was nice is that sometimes when you get to the romance novels, you get to their, main sex scene, and then you're like, I don't really have much motivation to keep reading it, because, yay, they did it. No pun intended. But with this one, since they had the mystery of, one, who her dad was, and two, who this other guy was that may have been with her mother, the mystery keeps it going. And then, of course, figuring things out. Oh, there's also Albrighton. He is the son of an earl and and his mistress. And his brother, or not his brother, his cousin, his cousin who inherited the title just wants to not have anything to do with him, no. And you find out it's because the earl married the mistress on his deathbed before she had Jonathan, and so he is theoretically, he's legally supposed to be the earl, and that's why the other earl is like, no. His cousin's like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. Go away. And but Celia's dealing with a lot of issues because she, especially when she finds that out, but even before that, she's thinking, there's no way that we could ever get married because of his status and everything. And Jonathan's just like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And, yay, they get together. So I would definitely totally recommend reading this. And I think the only reason it's not quite as good, I think, as like Mary Balog and Tessa Dare, is that it's a lot of the other characters, especially the father and the cousin, they're not sympathetic at all. There are no real nice happy moments with the family. One thing I know that Mary Balog does really well is that if there's a lost family member or something like that, they actually tend to be really nice, or you have this really cool emotional connection. And this does kind of lack that, and it's certainly possible it's just the nature of this book, and I'm definitely going to read her other ones to figure out how it is. And even if that is the case, I'm still going to read them. They're still really good. But the emotional connection isn't quite as deep, I think, in this with the other characters. And so the story itself is just a little bit lacking. But really, that doesn't seem to matter too much. There's a good story to keep you going in this. There's definitely enough to keep you entertained. Now, because of the nature of Celia's past and Jonathan's past and everything, they don't really get invited to the balls. So if you're expecting sort of a typical Regency where they get to go to different balls and things like that, that doesn't happen in this one. And again, I don't know if they happen in the other ones of hers. So again, you really don't get that much character interaction. It's mostly Celia and Jonathan. Again, that's fine, but because of the nature of the story, that's how it goes. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend it because it's really, really good. I plowed through it in 2 days. It was basically maybe 8 hours I finished it in, maybe less than that. I don't remember. It was over the course of 2 days. I started it at 10 o'clock and I had to go to bed at 11:30. So I read that for about an hour. And then, sorry, my dog is barking because he's being a buttface. But anyway, so I read it until about 3 o'clock yesterday. So I don't know, it was maybe 5 hours. But it was so good. Oh my gosh. Go read it. And I'm currently going to be reading The Secret by Julie Arwood, so I'll be doing a review of that as soon as I finish it. And yeah, I hope you found this review helpful, and hopefully I'll see you sometime next week. All right, bye.